Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name's Becky, I'm an artist from the UK, and this week it's back to Folklore Week. I'm using my two go-to books again. It's the same story from both of them. Again, like most of the stories, this one has the basic story and then the other one sort of elaborates a little bit with places and some town names. It's really quite a whimsical story, so my instinct was to go to Rackham, who's one of my favourite illustrators. He did a version of Alice in Wonderland and a lot of the Grimm's fairy tales. And yeah, so my mind went instantly to him, and I figured I'd try and do a pen and ink drawing. The story I chose is called The Boy and the Fairies. I'll try and read it, but you can probably hear how croaky I am, so apologies for that. Okay. Once there was a boy who wandered away from the right path on the journey to his home. He lost himself in a big wood. Night came on, and he lay down tired out and fell asleep. When he woke 2 or 3 hours after, he could see that a bear was laying beside him, with his head on a little bundle of clothes. It got up. The boy was very much frightened at first, but finding the bear was quite tame and gentle, he allowed the animal to lead him out of the wood, to a spot where he could see a light. Walking towards it, he found it came to a little turf hut. In answer to his knock, a little woman opened the door, kindly inviting him to enter. There he saw another little woman sitting by a fire. After a good supper, he was told he must share with them the only bed, and lying down he fell asleep, to be wakened when the clock struck 12 by his little bedfellows, who sprung up, putting on little white caps which hung on the bed's end. One said, "He is off," the other said, "He is after," and they suddenly disappeared as though flying. Afraid to stay in the hut alone, seeing the other cap hanging on the bed's end, the boy seized it, saying, "He is after." He was immediately transported to the fairy ring outside the door of the hut, where the little women were dancing merrily. Then one said, "He is off to a gentleman's house," the other said, "He is after." So the boy did likewise, and found himself on top of a tall chimney. The first fairy said, "Down the chimney," and the others, repeating the usual formula, down they went, first to the kitchen, then to the cellar. Here they began collecting bottles of wine to take away. They opened one and gave it to the boy, who drank so greedily that he fell asleep. On waking, he found himself alone, and in fear and trembling, went up to the kitchen, where he met the servants, and he was taken before the master of the mansion. He could give no satisfactory account of himself, and was condemned to be hanged. On the scaffold he saw, pushing eagerly through the crowd, a little woman carrying a white cap and wearing a similar one. She asked the judge if the prisoner might be hanged in the cap, and he gave his consent. So he walked up to the scaffold and placed it on the lad's head, saying, "He's off," and quickly said, "He is after," and away they went, lightning to the turf hut. Here the fairy explained that he had been very displeased by his taking her magical cap, and that if he befriended by fairies, he must never in future take liberties with their property. This he promised, and after a good meal, he was allowed to depart to his home. So a cute little fairy story. I was immediately attracted to the little turf hut. If you've watched my videos before, you'll know that I have a little obsession with tiny houses. And it seemed the perfect thing to take from this story. Although the other bit I find really interesting is the random bear. The other book goes into a little bit more detail about why there's a bear and why he's got some clothes. So that might be something I have to investigate further in the future.
On ground news, we've used the bias comparison tool to see how the left and right are reporting this story.
It's been a little while since I've done any pen and ink, so I did this little practice run first. It's okay, I've added way too much colour. Looking at Rackham, he uses a lot more dollar colour, and yeah, I went way over top. I very, very rarely use watercolour or gouache on its own. I usually use acrylic gouache, so I'm a bit out of practice with it. So I decided that I also wanted to do painting alongside. In the end, this turned out to be a terrible idea because it took me 3 attempts to try and get anything like a good painting out of this. It started out fine, the background's okay, but as soon as I got to the stone hut, it all went downhill from there. What I've ended up with, I'm much happier with, and it's kind of aligns with me a bit more. I think I was trying to go too far away from what I'm used to. I'm already doing a pen and ink drawing, which I don't do, and then I kind of try and do this very almost too realistic for me house. I got very fed up, and on the 3rd attempt what I ended up with was what I was going to end up with, I think. This one is the 2nd attempt. I went in this one so frustrated with the last one that this was never going to work. I just kind of wanted to get something down really quick. I was almost ready to leave, so I just wanted to get something done, and I went back into it the next day and just couldn't make it work, so I need to start again. I started fresh and ended up with something that is more aligned with myself than anything else I've done. As I say, I haven't done any pen and ink for a long time. I used to do it a lot I still enjoy it, but I didn't give myself any backup. I just went in full force, and which is kind of what I tend to do. I don't give myself like a second chance, like a backup. Like I said, with me, my artwork is how it comes out. So like with the other two paintings, I just have to give up and start again. So if this one had gone to pot, that's what I would have had to do. But luckily, I think because it was so far away from painting that it was a nice break, and I kind of just relaxed into it, and yeah, it turned out pretty good.
abandoned gas station. No pun. So we had both described this. It looked like a building. The weather was so bad. An asylum you would see in a film. Like in a big lot of this, because we never talked about it. We were both so crazy. I really wonder if there's something to.
So here we are at painting number 3. I had a quick look through my painting folders and was trying to figure out why the other two weren't working. I love flatness in my paintings, so like not a lot of depth, but I suppose there is. There's like a false depth, which I think I was trying too hard with the other two. It was, as I say, too far removed from what I normally do, whereas this one, all the flat colours worked. The white house, I so love my tiny little white houses that, because I tried to do a stone one, I think that threw me a bit. And then adding the soft pastels just kind of made me feel more at home. And I mean, it's not perfect, but after the other two, it was something I could live with. So here they are. I am happy with them both. I think this one sort of captures more of the whimsical nature of the story. Yeah, and it's closer to what I was aiming for, which is like the Arthur Rackham look. Whereas the painting, that feels much more me and my style. I'll probably try and do some more pen and ink if it suits what I'm doing. But yeah, so a terrible week. Didn't finish too terribly. Thank you if you made it all the way to the end. Let me know which one your favourite was, and sorry for my croakiness, and I'll see you with the next one. Bye. That's the rubbish one.